Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Sweden has cleared its final obstacle to joining the NATO after Hungary's parliament voted to ratify its bid, ending the more than 19-month delay in the process. The 2024 US presidential race heads to Michigan now after losing South Carolina to Donald Trump. Nikki Haley still vows to stay in the race. In a power-packed two-day tour beginning today, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra visit, will lay foundation stones of several developmental projects. And on to the details now. Hungary's parliament has ratified Sweden's bid to join NATO, ending more than 18 months of delays that frustrated the alliance as it sought to expand in response to Russia-Ukraine conflict. Hungary's National Assembly voted 188 votes in favour and 6 against the ratifying Stockholm's accession protocol to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In a few days, the Scandinavian country will be able to officially become the 32nd member country of the Atlantic Alliance. The two premiers had met last Friday in Budapest to discuss defence and security cooperation, which led to clearing the path for Hungary to purchase 4 new Swedish-made Gripen fighter jets. While Stockholm got its way into the NATO, Hungary had remained the only member country not to formally approve Stockholm's entry into the Atlantic Alliance, when also Turkey ended its tough blockade. The entrance ceremony for the new alliance member could be held at NATO headquarters as early as on 1st of March. Well, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said his country is leaving behind 2 centuries of neutrality. Sweden applied to join NATO shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. The Hungarian ratification, backed by a large majority of lawmakers, will now be signed by the country's Speaker of Parliament and President within a few days. After that, the remaining formalities, such as depositing accession documentation in Washington, are likely to be concluded swiftly.
Sverige lämnar nu 200 år av neutralitet och alliansfrihet bakom oss. Det är ett stort steg. Det ska vi ta på allvar. Men det är också ett mycket naturligt steg som vi tar. Medlemskapet i NATO betyder att vi nu kommer hem till ett stort antal demokratiers samarbete för fred och frihet. Ett mycket framgångsrikt samarbete.
Well, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken praising Poland's leadership within NATO, noting the significant strengthening of the bloc with Sweden's admission following Hungary's approval. Blinken attributed this move to the repercussions of Russia's President Vladimir Putin's actions in Ukraine, while welcoming Poland's Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski to Washington on Monday.
We very much look forward in the days ahead to finalizing everything and bringing Sweden into our alliance, our shared alliance. From day one, it has been Poland, its leadership, its solidarity with Ukraine, its work within our NATO alliance that has made and continues to make a profound difference. And so, Radek, I know we'll have occasion to talk about that as well, but we couldn't be more grateful, both, again, not just for the solidarity, but the leadership that Poland has shown when it comes to this aggression against so many of our interests and so many of our values.
Meanwhile, Sikorski expressed gratitude for U.S. support, emphasizing the urgency of preventing further Russian aggression and Poland's commitment to NATO's objectives.
Indeed, as you said, the Polish-American relationship is excellent. Poland has bold plans to strengthen its defenses, but America is our essential security partner. We have done what we pledged to do in the successive NATO summits. We are now, I believe, in proportion to GDP, the biggest spender on defense in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And so we're trying to give a good example. But times are dramatic And therefore, this moment is sublime, because we are coming up to a fork in the road. And depending on where we go, history will be different.
Moving on, U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are hoping to secure big wins in Tuesday's Michigan primary election. However, Arab Americans in the state have warned they do not intend to vote for the president due to the administration's pro-Israel position over the war in Gaza. Nick Harper reports for more from Washington.
Well, Joe Biden and Donald Trump go into Tuesday's primary in Michigan as the men to beat. On the Republican side, Trump is hoping for another resounding victory over his rival, Nikki Haley. He soundly beat her in Saturday's South Carolina primary, beating her by about 20%, despite it being Haley's home state and where she was governor for 6 years. There is also a separate Republican nominating convention that's taking place on March the 2nd, where some more of these state delegates will be awarded to the Republican candidates. For the Democrats, Biden, the incumbent president, is expected to sweep the state. His challenger, Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips, is seen as holding little sway in the state. He may only pick up a few thousand votes in total, so is not expected to upset Biden's victory. However, there is a sizable disaffected group of Arab American Democratic voters in the state who are refusing to support Biden. In certain parts of Michigan, Arab Americans are in the majority, and many of them, who usually vote Democrat, say they cannot support Biden this time around because of his support of Israel and what they see as his lack of commitment to uphold human rights and help Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Progressive activists and pro-Palestinians are urging voters to cast their ballots for uncommitted, making this a protest vote against Biden. However, Michigan's governor said that it could lead to Biden seeming weak, ultimately helping Trump to get re-elected in November's presidential election. It matters, as Michigan is a key swing state in the November general election, and Biden knows he needs strong support from voters, not just from Democrat ones, but also undecided moderates, if he's got a chance of winning the state in November. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley was campaigning in Michigan on Monday. Haley's better-than-expected showing in South Carolina exposed weaknesses on Trump's flank, particularly among more traditional Republicans and moderate voters. Haley won about 40% support in South Carolina after taking about 43% of the vote last month in the New Hampshire primary. In both cases, she was bolstered by independents and some Democrats who took part in the primary to back her over Trump. Haley insists she will fight on and argues that a large swath of Republicans continue to reject Trump.
If Donald Trump is the candidate, Republicans will once again lose the election. We'll lose the swing states, we'll lose the House, we'll lose the Senate, and we won't take anything with us. The Republican Party is fully divided, and you now have factions. You can't win a general election if you don't acknowledge the 40% of Republicans who are saying we don't want Donald Trump.
On the other hand, U.S. President Joe Biden is to meet the top 4 congressional leaders at the White House on Tuesday to press lawmakers on passing an aid package for Ukraine and Israel, as well as keeping the government running. DD India's Kate Fisher reports for more from Washington.
As time runs out for Ukraine on the battlefield and for averting a government shutdown at home, US President Joe Biden's convening the leading Democrat and Republican members of the Senate and the House. They're under pressure to pass the $95 billion national security package that bolsters aid for Ukraine, Israel and the Indo-Pacific. Now, that bill cleared the Senate earlier this month, but Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson has yet to put it to a House vote. It has got majority support in the House, including from a solid core of Republicans, but Speaker Johnson has to manage members on the far right who staunchly oppose additional Ukraine aid, and his tenuous grasp on the Speaker's office could be at risk if he pushes for it. Separately, there's not yet agreement on avoiding a partial government shutdown. Funding for agencies including transportation, agriculture and veterans affairs is due to expire on Friday. Money to keep the rest of the federal government working, including the Pentagon, Homeland Security and the State Department, runs out next week. Now, each side blamed the other on Sunday night for the lack of progress, and it almost certainly means that House and Senate leaders will need yet another stopgap funding bill known as a continuing resolution to keep the government's lights on past Friday. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said cooperation and determination can end the conflict.
Everything that we do together to defend ourselves from Russian aggression add real security to our nations for decades ahead. Because each of Russia's losses and each of Russia's defeats teaches Russia and the other enemy nations of Europe and the free world as a whole that aggression does not and cannot give results. Cooperation and determinations are the two answers that everyone should give to the question of ending the war and bringing peace closer.
Well, migrants from all over the world have been coming to the U.S.'s southern border in record numbers. That's led the state of Texas to take its own controversial measures to keep people from crossing. But even as those measures appear to be having an impact, there are signs that migrants are now simply moving west. Ira Spitzer reports for more from California's southern border.
The U.S. state of Texas has taken a tough line on migrants this year. In a move at odds with the federal government, the state has deployed its own tactics and personnel along its more than 2,000-kilometer border with Mexico.
We deployed the National Guard to turn back illegal immigrants. The Texas Department of Public Safety has arrested more than 24,000 criminals.
In the Del Rio, Texas area, formerly the epicenter of the crisis, illegal entries fell 76% in January. But increasingly, migrants are simply heading west to the states of Arizona and California, which have both seen huge surges driven by smuggler networks and information shared through social media and other sources.
And that's why we see that as more and more troops go to the Texas-Mexico border, more people are trying more deserty areas in Arizona, New Mexico, and California, which makes it more difficult both to catch them, but also more treacherous for the migrants themselves.
The migrants' countries of origins have changed too significantly in recent years. More and more people are coming from all over the world, including India. The number of encounters between U.S. border officials and Indian migrants has seen a dramatic uptick in recent years, including here at the border between California and Mexico. From the year ending in September of 2023, there were more than 96,000 encounters, about a 50% increase from a year earlier. The number of Chinese migrants has also risen sharply. Even if they do detain migrants initially, the U.S. doesn't have clear repatriation agreements with some of these origin countries or the capacity to efficiently process asylum claims.
They see that if they can make it to the United States, our system is so backlogged that it will take years before they'll get a chance to prove their case for asylum or some other kind of relief before an immigration judge. During that time, if they can get a work permit, they can at least work in the United States and send money back to their families overseas.
The migrants have created a political problem for President Joe Biden, and prospects to pass a border law that would address some of the issues look slim due to resistance from congressional Republicans. In an election year, the president's opponents would prefer to keep the issue front and center. Ira Spitzer reporting in San Diego, California for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Odysseus moon mission images revealed its vertical descent to the furthest south. We get you details ahead. Demonstrations continue in Europe as farmers converge in fresh show of force and jam Brussels EU quarter as ministers meet. Peru declared a 90-day health emergency as dengue fever cases spiked across the country.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kurana. Moving on, agriculture ministers from the 27-nation bloc meet in Brussels to examine proposals for simplifying the EU's agricultural policy in a new attempt to try to relieve the farmers. The 27-nation EU has already weakened some parts of its flagship Green Deal environmental policies, removing a goal to cut farming emissions from its 2040 climate roadmap. At the conclusion of a meeting of the bloc's agriculture ministers, Belgium's Deputy Prime Minister said the European Union's Executive Commission needs to present more ambitious proposals to reduce farmers' concerns. David Cranival said ministers viewed measures already proposed by the Commission as going in the right direction, but there was more work to do. Meanwhile, farmers jammed parts of Brussels with tractors in a protest to demand EU action outside the European Union headquarters. The action by the farmers came amid a meeting of the bloc's agriculture ministers. Demonstrators are demanding EU action on cheap supermarket products, low-cost imports and environmental rules that they say put too much pressure on the agricultural sector. In response to protest by farmers, the EU has already weakened some parts of its flagship Green Deal environmental policies, scrapping a goal to cut farming emissions from its 2040 climate roadmap. The EU has also withdrawn a law to reduce pesticides and delayed a target for farmers to leave some land fallow to improve biodiversity.
The
Council has agreed that these policies from the European Commission go in the right direction. These measures will constitute the first concrete step that will help in quick response at the European level to some of the worries of the farmers. But the Council considers that this is not enough, and it has invited the Commission to supplement these measures with new, more ambitious ones. Indeed, the reduction of the administrative burden is one of the concerns mentioned by the agricultural community, but this is not all.
Well, Hungary's parliament elected Constitutional Court Chief Tamás Sullyok as the country's next president on Monday. Sullyok has been the president of Hungary's top court since 2016. He is expected to take up the role on the 5th of March. The new election comes 2 weeks after Katalin Novak resigned as president. She was under mounting pressure for pardoning a man convicted in a sexual abuse case. And Senegal's President Macky Sall on Monday urged participants in a national dialogue to reach a consensus on a date to hold a delayed presidential election. Sall said he will ask the Constitutional Council to find his replacement when his mandate ends on the 2nd of April. The West African nation has been thrown into an unprecedented political crisis after Sall postponed the election initially scheduled for the 25th of February. The talks were boycotted by 15 of the 19 approved candidates who want him to hold the election as soon as possible and leave office when his mandate ends on the 2nd of April. Participants included some candidates, political parties, civil society and traditional and religious organizations. Well, Colombia's government and the National Liberation Army rebels said on Monday they have held a meeting amid difficulties at peace talks and will meet to continue negotiations in April. The two sides met in Havana over the weekend and in a joint statement said that they analyzed the advances of the accords and the problems faced by the negotiating table for peace, and in light of which each side has made commitments for the positive development of the process. Talks will continue beginning 8th of April in Venezuela, the statement added. The guerrilla group said last week the talks were in crisis because the government participated in regional talks with communities. The government said it complied with all its commitments. And moving on, the significant milestone in WTO history of finalization of the IFD agreement was marked at a ministerial event held at the Abu Dhabi National Exhibition Centre on the eve of the ministerial conference. Ministers representing 123 World Trade Organization members issued a joint declaration on Sunday to finalize the investment facilitation for development agreement. They also issued a submission asking for the 13th WTA Ministerial Conference taking place in Abu Dhabi from 26th to the 29th of February. The IFD agreement is the first negotiation topic set up and actively led by China at the WTO. Participants in the agreement represent 3/4 of the WTO membership, including close to 90 developing economies and 26 least developed economies. And a landslide in Bolivia destroyed almost 30 houses, a farm, vehicles and crops in La Quina village, resulting from a burst dam of a nearby lagoon. The disaster occurred after a nearby lagoon dam burst, causing mud to flood the mountainside. Around 40 families lost their homes, but no fatalities were reported. In Potosi, heavy rains caused rivers to burst, causing over 400 homes to be destroyed.
Hasta el momento tenemos contabilizados rápidamente unas 200, pues totalmente arrasadas por el lodo, por las piedras.
Well, Peru's Amazon has captured the extent of devastation in the Madre de Dios department due to extreme rainfall. The Acre and Yavarija rivers overflowed, affecting 800 people and 33 residential blocks. Inapari is one of the region's worst affected areas. The government is considering declaring an emergency to boost relief efforts. And Defense Minister Walter Astudillo Chavez has announced media aid is being deployed to the region.
Two metric tons of non-food humanitarian aid have been transported and another flight has already been scheduled for Monday and Tuesday. 4 metric tons will be transported on Monday and an additional 5 metric tons on Tuesday.
Also, Peru declared a 90-day health emergency across its 20 regions on Monday as dengue fever cases spiked across the country. The death toll due to the virus has touched 32, while total active cases climbed up to 31,300, Health Minister Cesar Vasquez said. The South American nation is witnessing severe heat wave and heavy rains, and leading to an increase in the viral disease across the country. And moving on, Morocco has issued a snowfall alert for multiple regions, predicting significant accumulation of 20 to 50 centimetres above 1,300 metres from Monday afternoon to Tuesday evening. The General Directorate of Meteorology reported that these snowfalls will affect different cities of Morocco. The warning will be issued from Monday and will last until Tuesday evening. Well, Guinea's labour unions have initiated a nationwide strike, a move aimed at pressuring the government for higher wages and other demands. The Guinean Trade Union Movement, an umbrella group for multiple workers' unions, announced the general strike in a statement last week, saying it would be indefinite and would include the public, private and informal sectors. The demands include release of Secretary General of the Union of Press Professionals of Guinea, who has been jailed, the lowering of food prices, the lifting of internet restrictions and the application of a wage deal reached with the government in November. There was no immediate comment from the government, which was set up by a military junta that seized power in a 2021 coup. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. New Odysseus moon mission images reveal its vertical descent to the Malapert A landing site, the furthest south any vehicle has been able to land on the moon. The 13-foot-tall hexagonal cylinder made it to the surface intact, but a navigation system problem caused an untested workaround to avoid a catastrophic crash landing. Tokyo has launched the world's largest projection mapping display, featuring images of Japanese culture, nature and sightseeing destinations on a wall spanning 14,000 square meters. The project, certified by Guinness World Records, will be shown 5 times per night. The display is set to become a new tourist attraction. Cuba's Habanos, a top cigar maker, achieved a record $721 million sales in 2023, primarily due to high-end demand in China. The Trinidad and Cohiba brands saw a 31% increase in revenues. Despite Hurricane Ian's impact, Cuban growers are recovering, with China leading in value. Habanos is owned by the Cuban government and Asian investors. Kate Winslet attended the premiere of HBO's The Regime, playing the chancellor of a modern authoritarian regime. The 6-episode series stars Matthias Schoenaerts, Guillaume Galliena, Andrea Riseborough, Martha Plimpton and Hugh Grant. It premieres in the US on the 3rd of March on HBO. 3 white tiger sisters, Vanilla, Merengue and Whip, have been given a new habitat at a zoo in a Yamaguchi prefecture, western Japan. Visitors can observe the sisters at close range through glass panels, witnessing them grazing and eating from a stick. The tigers are praised for their power and coolness. And moving on, the French president said providing more weapons to Ukraine was the priority above all others as he hosted European leaders for a summit on aid for Ukraine. Emmanuel Macron said no firm decision had been taken about the possibility of sending EU troops to Ukraine, but he said he believes allies of Ukraine will be willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes for Kyiv to win the war. Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
Well, Emmanuel Macron added that allies of Kyiv needed a jolt to kickstart a fresh round of funding and support for Ukraine, diplomatic, financial and military, as the country enters the 3rd year of the war. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the summit via video link, and he hailed the recent bilateral security agreement signed between Paris and Kyiv. He said that millions of lives have been saved due to support from the West, and he urged leaders to ensure that, quote, Vladimir Putin cannot expand his aggression to other nations. Now, this summit came just 2 days after Europe and Ukraine marked the 2-year anniversary since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. And the Elysee Palace said it called this gathering to allow leaders to study the means available to respond ever more quickly and efficiently to the needs of Ukraine and its people. Financial support to allow and help Ukraine pay, for example, pensions and salaries was discussed, along with, of course, ammunition and weapons for the Ukrainian armed forces. But we heard from the Estonian Prime Minister. She was attending the summit on Monday, and she said it's not just about promising the ammunition, it's about ensuring the delivery of weapons to the soldiers fighting on the front line. And now Emmanuel Macron has come in for criticism throughout the war for what some people see as being slow to support Ukraine to the same extent as other big European nations like Germany and the United Kingdom, and also because he wants any ammunition bought by European nations for Ukraine to be purchased from European manufacturers. Now, this summit in Paris came the day before US President Joe Biden was set to convene congressional leaders in Washington to try to pass a $95 billion national security package of legislation that includes further support for Ukraine. In Paris, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. In a short while from now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre at Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. The first ever international puppet festival begins in northeastern Indian state of Tripura. And several people visiting Royal Palace grounds in Thailand, where relics of Lord Buddha and his 2 disciplines kept on display. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Sweden has cleared its final obstacle to joining the NATO after Hungary's parliament voted to ratify its bid, ending the more than 18-month delay in the process. The 2024 U.S. presidential race heads to Michigan now after losing South Carolina to Donald Trump. Nikki Haley still vows to stay in the race. And in a power-packed 2-day tour beginning today, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra visit will lay foundation stones of several developmental projects. And moving on, several 100,000 people have visited the Royal Palace grounds in Thailand since the enshrinement ceremony of relics of Lord Buddha and his 2 disciples took place. The relics will be kept on display at Sanam Luang till 3rd of March before moving them to 3 other places in Thailand. DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre spoke to Joint Secretary of Ministry of Culture of India, Amita Prasad Sarabhai, on the cultural significance and the Indo-Thai people-to-people connect.
I have the Joint Secretary of Ministry of Culture, Amrita Prasad Sarabhai here. Ma'am, this is a huge program. Thousands of people are here right now. It seems that people from all over Thailand are coming. How deeply do you think that this exposition means for the people of Thailand? What is the cultural significance of it? And what role has the Culture Ministry played as far as this particular very difficult exposition is concerned, which was not thought to be possible before it was done?
This exposition, which was the request was made to us by the Thai government in October, and since then we started working on it. There are 20 holy relics of Lord Buddha which are available with National Museum. The government of our country, and especially the Ministry of Culture, we are very keen about ensuring that our country is seen as the land of Buddha across the world, even as for tourism, not only tourism purposes, but just a people-to-people connect also. So if we want to have a connection with the Far East countries, Lord Buddha is one of the major mediums through which we can connect with the people. When you visit Far East, or you visit Mongolia, when we took the holy relics to Mongolia, or when we've come to Thailand, you realize that what was the influence of our country, Bharat, in the past. And that's why the language, the Thai language has so many Sanskrit words.
While moving on, in a power-packed tour scheduled for 2 days, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. Prime Minister will visit Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre at Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala with a revision to reform the country's space sector to realise its full potential, and his commitment to enhance technical and R&D capability in the sector will get a boost as 3 important space infrastructure projects will be inaugurated during his visit to Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre from a short while from now. The Prime Minister will inaugurate 3 important space infrastructure projects during the visit. These 3 projects aim to provide world-class technical facilities for the space sector and have been developed at a cumulative cost of about 1,800 crore rupees. The projects include the PSLV integration facility, new semi-cryogenics integrated engine and stage test facility, and enhanced technical and R&D capability. Prime Minister Modi will also review the progress of Gaganyaan mission, India's first human space flight program.
Vikram Sarabhai Space Center at Thiruvananthapuram, and this is a huge, magnificent sub-assembly integration area of Gaganyaan mission. This huge system, this entire complex carries every nut and bolt of mission Gaganyaan, and several of these missions kept here will be integrated in the actual Gaganyaan mission, and this is the cryogenic engine CE-20 for Gaganyaan. This was the most ambitious mission for Gaganyaan, and ISRO's Atmanirbhar self-reliant technology has got this cryogenic engine ready, and with this engine passing all the successful tests, ISRO declared that now the Gaganyaan rocket is human rated. It is tested for all the endurances, it is tested for all the safety aspect of the astronauts, and this will now be able to take the astronauts to the space. These are the actual systems, the actual parts of mission Gaganyaan which are ready, and these have also undergone tests during the Gaganyaan demonstrations and flight tests. And this is the crew escape system upper stack, which looks exactly like this. So mission Gaganyaan is all set to take off by 2025. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has set the vision for ISRO, and ISRO's space vision for 2047 will take India higher and higher. With cameraman Bheem, Aisha Khanam, DD India, Thiruvananthapuram.
And in a short while from now, Prime Minister will be there at the Vikram Sarabhai space station, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be in the South Indian state of Kerala to inaugurate key projects. PM will also attend the closing ceremony of his party's statewide pre-election Padayatra event. DD India's correspondent Aisha Khanum spoke to Minister of State V. Muralidharan on the Prime Minister's visit today. Take a listen.
यदि प्रगति के रास्ते पे आगे चलना है तो वो नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में ही हो पाएगा, इस तरह की एक उम्मीद अभी जगी है। और इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री जी पिछले करीब 55-60 दिन के अंदर अभी तीसरी दौरा है उनका। वो त्रिशूर में 2 बार आए, तिरुवनंतपुरम में अभी आ रहे। तो पिछले दोनों उनके जो कार्यक्रम था, विजिट था, उसमें इतनी बड़ी संख्या में घंटों तक लोग इंतजार करते रहे उनका रोड शो को देखने के लिए, उस रोड शो में भाग लेने के लिए। ये बहुत स्पष्ट दर्शाता है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी के ऊपर लोगों का बड़ी उम्मीद है।
And for more on Prime Minister's visit, we are now joined by our correspondent Arun Sharma with us. Well, Arun, this is Prime Minister's 3rd visit to the state this year, earlier in January this year. Prime Minister will visit Vikram Sarabhai Space Station in a short while from now. 3 projects providing world-class technical facilities to be launched. Could you give us more on this?
Well, Lipakshi, this visit of Prime Minister Modi is going to be very much significant as far as India's space sector is concerned. Now, we know this fact that India's space sector has been opened up for the private players as well. So now, all across the world, look at all the developed economies. They are, getting ready for the space races to launch their capacities, space missions as far as, various space missions are concerned by the government or by the private players as well. So now India is, this decade, if you look at it, this entire decade, the focus will be on space missions and, the collaborations with the government and the private players as far as space missions are concerned. And India is leading in that aspect, being a developing economy. Now, today is an important day because Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will, of course, be visiting these space facilities, and of course Prime Minister Narendra Modi's focus is on ensuring that how can space sector's full potential can be realized, and we also know this fact that PIF facilities, 3 important infrastructure or the capacity Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to review as well. Number one is, of course, the PIF facility. Now, this will ensure that how can the PSLV launches can be increased, the frequency can be increased or enhanced, because various startups are coming forward, and the focus of the startup is to ensure or to get the launching pad, and of course the ISRO, the Satish Dhawan Space Center. All these are ensuring that various startups can get a launching pad for launching their capacities or the payloads in this space.
All right. Very important startups indeed, Arun. Also, Prime Minister will review the progress of India's first human space flight program, that is the Gaganyaan mission, and bestow, most importantly, astronaut wings to the astronaut designates. Can you tell us about that?
Well, Gaganyaan is the most ambitious project as far as India's space mission is concerned, and this entire decade will of course focus on the fact that how can humans can be sent to the space so that various exploration, space exploration, deep space exploration can be done. So yes, as the private players are also engaging, because if you look at it this way, that earlier ISRO was whole and soul as far as launching capacities, or be it the ideation level, or be it launching various space vehicles or launching the payloads in the space. But now the government has ensured that private players can also come in and, of course, can play an important role in launching their ideas, the research and development, the capacities in this space as well. So, yes, various developing countries, BIMSTEC nations, they are also relying on India's deep infrastructure as far as space is concerned. And today's visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will ensure that the space sector gets new wings, and of course the capacities can be enhanced, be it increasing more frequencies, be it focusing upon the next generation infrastructure, or be it ensuring that how can in less fuel capacities more payloads can be sent to space. So that's the basic idea of this entire a visit of Prime Minister Modi today, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to shortly review. And of course the Gaganyaan mission, so Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be reviewing that project as well.
All right. Also, a lot of focus on the future technology development leads, like the trisonic and tunnel at VSSC, which is also going to be inaugurated.
Oh, absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, three important facilities. Number one, that is PIF. Now, PIF will ensure that how can the ferries or the frequency of launching the space vehicles that can be increased, because PSLV can take up the small payloads in the space. Second is semi-cryogenic stage. So we know this fact that there are three primary stages when the rocket launch takes place. One, of course, is solid stage. Second is the liquid stage, and last is the cryogenic stage. So the focus is on the semi-cryogenic integrated engine. So this will ensure that how can in less fuel, how can the engine capacity can be enhanced, so that more and more payloads that can be taken up in the space. So this is going to play an important role, because this can enhance the capacity that in one go various or multiple payloads can be placed in the orbit or in this space. Last but not the least, it's about the aerodynamic testing facility, or that will ensure the trisonic wind tunnel. Now, what this will specific thing will do, this will focus upon the research and development for the next generation, because the next decade AI is getting integrated. In next generation, if you look at it in this way, that in next generation, along with artificial intelligence, we are getting a lot of payloads from the startups, from the private players. So we need more speed. We need more, focus on the fact that how can, the next generation infrastructure can be targeted and that can be developed. So the trisonic wind tunnel is in that direction is going to be very much significant, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to today review as well.
Also, all right, Arun, also in regard to his visit to Tamil Nadu, Prime Minister is today going to inaugurate the first green hydrogen hub port of the country, a move towards the sustainability of the environment.
So today's visit can be categorized into two important aspects. Number one, of course, is on the space aspect. Second is on the mobility aspect as well. As you rightly mentioned about the hydrogen sector, now India has already launched the India's hydrogen mission, whereby it focuses upon building upon the hydrogen capacities. Various private players are also now coming forward in developing hydrogen-related infrastructure and capacities. We have also seen that various automobile makers are also launching their the pilot basis car or the cars that are related to hydrogen. So now the idea is to diversify the energy basket, not at all relying only on petrol or diesel, which are the traditional or the fossil fuels specifically, but also diversifying it on the electric vehicles, lithium-ion related batteries, and of course hydrogen is also another aspect as far as India's energy basket is concerned. So in that aspect, today's the mobility aspect of the hydrogen is going to play an important role, because Tamil Nadu is a state whereby most automobile makers are there. They focus on building up their capacities, research and development center. And yes, India's automobile market is in top 5 globally. And when it comes to the automakers of our country, they're competing with the global players as well, as far as the exports number are concerned, and are also very much encouraging. So now the focus is that how can India make the green capacities, the green vehicles, or the hydrogen-related vehicles, and that can be exported so that India can become Atmanirbhar, or the campaign can be given a major push in that direction.
All right, a historic and momentous day it's going to be today. Thank you so much, Arun, for joining us. And moving on, voting is underway for the 15 seats of Rajya Sabha, the upper house of Indian Parliament in Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka and Himachal Pradesh. 10 Rajya Sabha seats are under voting from Uttar Pradesh, 4 from Karnataka and 1 from Himachal Pradesh. Out of the 56 Rajya Sabha seats going for polls today, 41 members virtually secured their seats in the upper house, although the results will be formally announced by the 5 p.m. IST. BJP President JP Nadda, Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw and former Congress Chief Sonia Gandhi were among the 41 candidates who won seats unopposed in the latest round. Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. U.S. Ambassador to India Eric Garcetti offered prayers at the Golden Temple in the Indian city of Amritsar. During his visit, the ambassador said that it was always his dream to come to the Golden Temple ever since he was a little boy, and now that dream had come true. The first ever International Puppet Festival begins in northeastern Indian state of Tripura. Puppet theatre groups from the US, Brazil, Spain and Bangladesh and 6 groups from Delhi, Rajasthan, West Bengal are participating in the 3-day festival. The International Puppet Festival is being organized as part of the 50-year celebration of Tripura Puppet Theatre. In a first-of-its-kind initiative, Election Commission of India signs a Memorandum of Understanding with Indian Banks Association and the Department of Post to amplify its voter outreach and awareness efforts ahead of the forthcoming general elections. The initiative is in continuation of untiring efforts of Election Commission of India to enhance the electoral awareness in the country. Sweden's ambassador to India, Jan Theslev, inaugurated a street art project in India's capital, Delhi. The street art has been inaugurated to celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations between India and Sweden on Monday. The street art is the first of its kind mural in Delhi's Khan Market. And still to come, DD India News Hour. India's per capita monthly household expenditure doubled in 2022-23. We'll show you DD India's exclusive conversation with the para swimmer Suesh Yadav ahead of Paralympics 2024. And with a new tourist attraction, Tokyo has launched the world's largest projection mapping display. Stay with us to know more.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs. With a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. And now India's per capita monthly household expenditure more than doubled in 2022-23 as compared to 2011 and 12, according to the latest study of National Sample Survey Office, or the NSSO. The NSSO, under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, conducted household consumption expenditure survey during August 2022 to July 2023. The survey aims at generating estimates of household monthly per capita consumption expenditure and its distribution separately for the rural and urban sectors of the country, for states and union territories, and for different socio-economic groups. As per the survey, the average MPCE at current prices more than doubled to 6,459 rupees in urban areas in 2022 to 23 from 2,630 rupees in 2011 and 12. Similarly, in rural areas, it jumped to 3,773 rupees from 1,430 rupees at current prices. And you're watching DD India News. Time now for some sports news. Indian para swimmer Suyash Jadhav bagged his third Paralympic quota in 50-meter butterfly SP category. Top athlete Suyash, who bagged a medal of the Asian Para Games in Hangzhou, says the best moment was when Prime Minister Narendra Modi awarded the medal himself to Suyash. Not only this, he says that the continuous support by the government makes him physically and financially strong. DD India's Deepika Mehto got an exclusive conversation with the para swimmer ahead of Paralympics 2024. Take a listen.
Welcome to all our viewers here on DD India. We have with us a very special guest who's created a hat-trick when we talk about Paralympics. Now, at the upcoming 2024 Paris Paralympics, he's secured a quota. We have with us Paralympian Suyash Jadhav. Thank you so much, Suyash, for joining us here on DD India and talking to us. When we talk about this hat-trick that you've created at the Paralympics consistently, be it your A qualification mark at the Rio Paralympics or be your hat-trick, your performance have been really consistent. Tell us more about your challenges and your journey so far.
Actually, I would like to tell how did I start my swimming journey. So first of all, I would like to tell my father was also a national swimmer, but due to some difficulties, वो साल का competition was cancelled. At the age of 3-4, उन्होंने मुझे swimming सिखाया at village in the well or pond, you can say. So at this, in this way, I started my swimming. But you know, when I was in 6th standard, due to electric current, my both hands was electrocuted below elbow. After that, with my family, I went in Maharashtra. I went some religious place, and in there one pond was there. So first time after the tragedy, I entered into the water from 2007 to till the date, and from that date to till the date, or I have more than 125 medals, state, national, international level ke, gold, silver and bronze.
And now on to the Khelo India University Games. Chaudhary Ranbir Singh University's Sonia ran a brilliant anchor leg to overtake 3 of her opponents and helped her team clinch the 4 into 100-meter relay gold in the 4th Khelo India University Games 2023. Ashtalakshmi at the Indira Gandhi Stadium on Monday. The young player began accelerating after being at the 4th spot to hit the straight line and comfortably crossing the finish line to kick off a grand celebration by the team members. The ongoing games in the state of Assam has witnessed brilliant performances by the Indian youth. Well, the Indian basketball team put up a spirited fight against a much higher-ranked Iran in the Group E clash of the 2025 FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, but ended up on the losing side of a 53-86 scoreline at the Indira Gandhi Stadium on Monday. Ranked 81st in the FIBA rankings, India were the underdogs against 27th-ranked Iran. But the host started with a lot of gumption as the packed stadium cheered them throughout the hour-long match. Forward Prana Prince, who top scored for the host with 11 points, impressed with interceptions in the initial few minutes as the host took a 2-point lead in the first minute. And now let's take you live where India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is addressing the Viksit Bharat at 2047 Viksit Bharat and Industry program.